Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Today we're looking at historical accounts that literally read like an action thriller. We're talking about sources describing a man whose physical abilities completely defied logic. You know, we often hear these epic stories of legendary warriors riding magnificent, thundering steeds into battle, right? But the texts we're examining today focus on a companion of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who didn't even need a horse. We're going to explore the accounts of a man who possessed incredible, mind-blowing speed, and whose legendary bravery and archery skills were absolutely unmatched in the sources.
So I really want you to picture this scenario for a second. Imagine a solitary runner, not on horseback, but just on his own 2 feet. Now picture that same runner chasing down an entire cavalry unit of 40 heavily armed knights. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a superhero movie, doesn't it? But according to the historical accounts we're diving into today, this is exactly what happened. So how does someone even achieve that? How does one man literally become a force of nature? Well, let's find out.
Section 1. A man faster than horses.
The historical sources introduce us to our hero, Salama ibn Al-Akwa. May Allah be pleased with him. The accounts describe him as this young, lean, muscular companion of the Prophet. He was known for possessing the piercing eyes of a falcon and feet that quite literally outran the wind. He was famous around Medina, not just as a fearless fighter, but as a natural-born sniper. And his own 2 feet, those were his steeds. This sets up a massive contrast and really highlights the absolute stakes of our story. On one side, you have the 40 fully armored knights of Uyayna bin Hin on these swift, powerful war horses, and against them, Salama. Just one man, on foot, armed with nothing but his bow and arrows. It is the ultimate underdog scenario, but according to the texts, Salama was a highly lethal, completely mobile unit all by himself.
Now you might be wondering, where does that kind of impossible stamina come from? To understand this, the historical sources point to a very specific moment during the Battle of Khaybar. During that fierce battle, Salama suffered a severe, debilitating strike right to his leg. It was the kind of wound that absolutely could have ended his life as a warrior. But the historical accounts tell us he was brought to the Prophet, peace be on him, who then blew on the injured leg 3 times. From that exact moment on, Salama reported that his leg never pained him or tired out ever again. It granted him what the texts describe as this completely supernatural physical resilience.
Section 2. The Raid on Medina.
Set the scene with me here. The dawn hasn't even fully broken yet, and a peaceful morning serenity is covering the pastures of Medina. Then, suddenly, that quiet is just completely shattered. Uyayna bin Hisn and his 40 armed knights launch a totally surprised raid. They kill the local shepherd, they steal the Prophet's grazing camels, and they take off into the desert like foxes fleeing into the wild. Now, Salama was the very first person to spot the dust rising in the distance. And here's the crazy part. He didn't waste precious minutes trying to find a horse. He didn't wait around for the rest of the army to wake up and mobilize. Instead, he unleashed this massive roaring warning shout that literally shook the walls of Medina. He yelled, "Ya Sabaha," which translates to, "O morning of danger." It was basically the ancient alarm bell. And the absolute second those words left his mouth, he sprinted straight into the unforgiving desert, totally alone.
Section 3. The one-man army.
Just think about the sheer audacity of what he's doing here. He's literally sprinting after 40 men on horses. But how did he actually fight them? Well, according to the accounts, he put on a 4-step guerrilla warfare masterclass. First, he used his unmatched speed to actually sprint past the horses. Let that sink in. Second, he'd take the high ground, hiding behind rocks or scrambling up small desert hills. Third, he would just rain down these flawless arrows. The sources note he was a natural sniper, meaning he basically never missed. Every single arrow meant a fallen knight or wounded horse. And then, for the 4th step, before they could even figure out where the shots were coming from, he would relocate and do the whole thing all over again. He completely controlled the entire terrain.
Section 4. Arrows and psychological warfare.
But here's the thing. Physical speed was only half of Salama's strategy, according to the texts. He knew that to defeat 40 men, he had to break their minds just as much as their ranks. He wanted to absolutely terrify them. So while he's showering them with deadly arrows from all these unseen angles, he projected this roaring, echoing battle cry. He yelled, "I am the son of Al-Akwa, and today is the day of the suckling." Now this was an ancient poetic way of saying, today is the day of severe reckoning. Imagine the sheer panic of these 40 elite knights. They're frantically looking left and right, their horses are bucking, arrows are flying out of nowhere, and this booming voice is echoing off the rocks all around them. Salama appeared like this uncatchable ghost, darting from hill to hill.
They legitimately thought a massive invisible army was right on their heels.
And you know what? The psychological terror worked flawlessly. The 40 knights panicked so completely that they actually began dumping their cargo just to lighten their fleeing horses. First, they abandoned the stolen camels entirely. But they didn't even stop there. They started throwing away their heavy spears. They even ripped off their cloaks and garments, tossing them aside just to escape the relentless ghost-like pursuit of this one single man. By himself, Salama not only recovered the stolen property, but he completely, utterly broke the morale of an entire cavalry unit.
Section 5. The Prophet's Greatest Praise.
Eventually, the dust finally settles. The Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Muslim reinforcements arrive on horseback, fully ready for a massive battle. But they pull up only to find that the battle is already over. The loot is recovered, the enemy has completely fled in terror. And Salama is just standing there, having finished the entire job single-handedly. The Prophet, peace be upon him, looked at him with immense pride, and he stated, "The best of our horsemen today is Abu Qatada, and the best of our infantry is Salama." That one statement cemented Salama's legendary status forever. He wasn't just a fast runner anymore. He was officially recognized by the Prophet as the absolute best foot soldier in their entire ranks.
Section 6. Legacy of Salama. May Allah be pleased with him.
Salama's story certainly didn't end with the settling dust of that one incredible chase. He remained an immovable rock during the times of the subsequent caliphs. But later on, when people asked him about his absolute fearlessness, the sources reveal something really profound. He credited his secret entirely to his pledge to the Prophet. He had pledged death for his cause, and he stated that once he made that ultimate pledge, all fear simply vanished from his heart. His superhuman physical endurance was literally fueled by this unbreakable spiritual conviction. It was this deep internal peace, perfectly matching his external ferocity, that really defined him. Years later, as an older man, he relocated to the quiet, serene desert area of Al-Rabatha. It's almost as if he wanted to end his days in the peaceful silence of the very same deserts that had once witnessed his greatest, most explosive heroic feats. He passed away in the year 74 AH, leaving behind a legacy that time simply cannot erase. The knight who never rode a horse, yet somehow outran them all.
So we've just analyzed the historical accounts of a man who used what little he had, his feet, his bow, and his completely unshakable faith, to completely rout an entire army. It was never about the resources he lacked. It was all about the absolute conviction he carried. So it leaves us with this question. If Salama defeated an army with just his feet and his faith, what can you conquer with your conviction? Think about that for a while. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.